गुरु तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथन्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितां च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरि यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम् Hare Krishna. So we will start with the next verse of Upadeshamrita, which will explain us about what are the offenses that we need to avoid in Krishna consciousness. So here in the 7th shloka of Upadeshamrita, Sripad Rupa Goswami says, Drishtaihi swabhava janiter vapushcha dosher na prakritatvam ya bhakta janayasya pashet ganga ambasam sakhalu budbuddha fena pankair brahmadravatvam apagachati niratharmai. Being situated in his original Krishna consciousness position, a pure devotee does not identifies with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee's having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such a seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of a Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges water do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So here in this particular verse, Rupa Goswami explains about few things that we need to understand. Because generally it is our tendency to judge other people. But here in this verse, Rupa Goswami explains that one should not make offense toward a devotee considering following things. If you commit offense against a pure devotee based on his bodily defect, his birth, material vision, or jealousness, or maybe disciplinary actions, then in the purport, Prabhupada explains that how to avoid this particular offense, like a criticism of a bodily defect. What Lord says about those devotees in Bhagavad Gita. And one should not consider himself as a very much elevated and try to judge others. And while judging, sometimes what we do, we commit offense. And we need to come out of that particular thing. In the purport, Prabhupada says here that Shuddha Bhakti, the activity of the soul, proper, in other words, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, is performed in a liberated condition. So Prabhupada is explaining here about what is Shuddha Bhakti and how it is performed. As explained in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text number 26, Mam cha yo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samaikitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in a full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus come to the level of Brahman. So the person who engages himself in a full devotional service, he never falls down in any circumstances. Why? Because he attains Brahman stage. Brahman means which is absolutely pure. And here, one thing that very clearly Lord speaks about, that is avyabhicharena bhakti, means unalloyed devotional. A person engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. In this Krishna consciousness movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is aimed toward material enjoyment, it is material consciousness. And if it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna consciousness. A surrender soul serves Krishna without material consideration. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Jnana karmadi anavritam. Unalloyed devotional service, which is transcendental to the activities of the body and mind, such as jnana. Jnana is mental speculation, and karma is fruitive activities or fruitive work, So one who performs devotional service without doing this mental speculation and without accepting the material activities or the fruitive activities, that is called as a pure bhakti. And pure bhakti is the proper activity for the soul. And when one actually engages in unannoyed, uncontaminated devotional service, he is already liberated. Sagunana samataityan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Sagunana samatitain. He has already transcended those modes of material nature. As explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, I think verses in between 17 to 21, where Lord explains, where Sutta Goswami, he explains about the glories of hearing about the Lord. Shanvata swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanat hridayantosti abhadrani vidunoti surat satam. When one sincerely hears about the wonderful pastimes about the Lord, then what happens? All abhadras from the heart, they get burn away, And then what happens? Because of that, one person who pays oral reception to the wonderful activities of the Lord, tatha rajas tamo bhava kamalobha dayashaye chaitayete ranam viddhi sthitam sattve prasiddhati. He gets freed from mode of passion and ignorance, and simultaneously he gets rid of kama, moha, and krodha. These are the big impediments in the spiritual life. And because of that, what happens? Titam sattve prasiddhati. He gets situated in the Shuddha Sattva. And once he attained that position, then what happens? Evan prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangha param raja. Then he gets liberated because when he performs the devotional service, he becomes prasanna manasa. He is always blissful. Bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnanam. He knows the absolute knowledge about the Lord. And mukta sangas, he gets that liberation. That's why Prabhupada says Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material condition. Even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned, one should therefore not see a pure devotee from the materialist point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. This is very wonderful statement that Prabhupada makes it here. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. So, the person who is on the Kanishta level, as explained in the previous verse, that there are three types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttam Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and non-devotee. He is simply concerned with the worshipping the deity in the temple. A Madhyam Adhikari, however, can distinguish between the devotee and non-devotees, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, the devotee and the non-devotee, in different ways. That we have seen. Like he worships their lordship, he honors the devotees, and in those devotees also, who is a Kanishta, he respects him. Who is Uttam Adhikari, he takes his association, and Madhyama, of his level only, he makes friendship with them, and lower to them, who are in the lower consciousness or non-devotees or materialistic, he becomes merciful on them and tries to give them Krishna consciousness. So these three different ways he behaves with the three different types of people. No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such a defects, they should be overlooked. What should be taken into account is spiritual master's main business, which is devotional service, pure service to the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter, text number 30, Apichetas suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhat sadhur eva samantavya samyaga vyavasthito hi saha. Even if a devotee sometimes seems to engage in abominable activities, he should be considered sadhu, a saintly person, because his actual identity is that of one engaged in the loving service of the Lord. In other words, he is not to be considered an ordinary human being. See, as Mahaprabhu explains in a Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Kripa Paye Bhaktalata Pesh. See, there are millions of universes. And among those universes, the living entities, as per the Daiva Karmana Daiva Netrena Janpur Deha Prapadyate. As per the activities that he has done in the previous life, he gets the specific form of a life according to the karma that he has done in the previous life. And once after getting that, if he get a chance to have an association of a sadhu, to have a mercy of Krishna, and he gets that seed of devotion, is a very rare thing, And as Brahmaji, he explains in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krita Punya Punjam, if someone has done uh, heap of mountains of pious activities, then he get a chance to associate with the devotees. And after associating with the devotees, by the mercy of Lord and the devotee, he gets that devotion. And if someone has become a devotee, that's not a very common thing. It's rarest thing to become a human, to have a human form of a life, and in that have an association of pure devotee and become a devotee. That's why devotee is not ordinary human being. Or sometimes we see that pure devotee may not be born in a Brahmana or a Goswami family. If he is engaged in the service of the Lord, he should not be neglected. In actuality, there cannot be a family of Goswamis based on the material consideration, caste, or heredity. In India, the Goswami title is actually the monopoly of the pure devotees. Thus, he speaks of the 6 Goswamis, headed by the Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami had practically become Mohammedans and had therefore changed their names to Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made them Goswamis. Jiva Goswami, in one of his books, he writes down about their family history. Even though they were South Indian Brahmins, born in Karnataka, but their ancestor, they moved to the East Bengal. And then they took service of Nawab Hussain there in East Bengal. And Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they were so intelligent and expert. At the age of 20, 21, they became finance minister and chief minister of Nawab Hussain. And they started rendering service to him. But they never gave up their practices of devotional service. They used to perform their duties to that Nawab Hussain, but when they come back, they used to read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the Brahmanas. And the way, it's not that when they met Chaitanya Prabhu, then they started devotional. Before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them, they were practicing Krishna consciousness. And once when they met Mahaprabhu, they decided to quit everything and go to Vrindavan and do their bhajan. And that's why Prabhupada says the Goswami titles, Goswami, Go means senses and Swami means who controls. So this title is a monopoly of the pure devotees like Rupa and Sanatan, who gave up everything for the cause of Krishna, to serve their lordship, to follow the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's why Mahaprabhu himself made them a Goswami. Therefore, the Goswami title is not a hereditary. Like in Bengal, or even this part of the India also, they call someone someone they hold a title as a Goswami. Because someone is born in a Goswami family, so he is called as a Goswami. No. So Goswami title is not a hereditary. It never comes by heredity, but it comes by your own qualities. And Prabhupada further explains the Goswami, the word Goswami refers to one who can control his senses, who is master of his senses. A devotee is not a controlled by the senses, but is the controller of the senses. Consequently, he should be called Swami or Goswami, even though he may not be born in a Goswami family. According to this formula, the Goswamis who are descendants of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advait Prabhu are certainly devotees. But devotees coming from other families should not be discriminated against. Indeed, whether the devotees come from a family of a previous acharyas or from an ordinary family, they should be treated equally. Actually, this equality in the social order is brought by Sri Ramanujacharya. He was the first Vaishnava Acharya who introduced this bhakti to all the levels of people without any discrimination. Previous to him, only Brahmanas were allowed to worship their lordship in the temple. He is the one who actually introduced this Pancharatra Vidhi, where the Pancha Sanskaras are done. So even a Pancham level of people who are outcasted from the four Vargas, even they were also accepted as a Vaishnavas. That's the specialty of this Vaishnavism. In Vedic system, in this Vedic Smarta system, only the Brahmanas are meant to do particular services to the deities and the Lord in the temple. But in the Vaishnavism, once who gets these Pancha Samskaras, he becomes Vaishnava. Then no more this bodily discrimination based on his birth, his body, his nationality. It is given up. So this equality was brought to us by Sri Ramanujacharya. And after him, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he propagated throughout the India about this. And presently we can see by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, all we are here discussing Krishna Katha. What Prabhupada preached, he practiced also. And then he further says, one should not think, oh, here is an American Goswami and discriminate against him. Nor should one think, here is a Nityananda Vamsha Goswami. There is an undercurrent of a protest against our awarding the title Goswami to American Vaishnavas of the Krishna consciousness movement. So Prabhupada is speaking 50 years back when he started giving sannyas to this Americans, then his own god brothers, they were protesting against him. How he can give sannyas to the mlechas or these people who has eaten a cow and they drank everything. They have done all these sinful activities. How? And Prabhupada faced a lot that time, because sometimes people flatly tell that American devotees that their sannyas or title Goswami is not bona fide. However, according to the statements of Srila Rupa Goswami in this verse, an American Goswami and a Goswami in a family of acharyas are non-different. On the other hand, a devotee who has attained the title of Goswami but is not born of a Brahmana father or a Goswami in the family of Nityananda or Advaita Prabhu should not be artificially puffed up by thinking that he has become a Goswami. He should always remember that as soon as he becomes materially puffed up, he immediately falls down. This Krishna consciousness movement is a transcendental science, and there is no room for jealousy. So while rendering devotional service, if you feel jealous about someone, definitely we should consider that we are fallen. Because asuya is not meant to perform devotional service. Prabhupada says this movement is meant for the Paramahansas who are completely free from jealousies. Paramam nirmatsaranam. One should not be jealous whether he is born in a family of a Goswamis or has the title of a Goswami awarded to him. As soon as anyone becomes envious, he falls from the platform of Paramahansa. If we consider the bodily defects of Vaishnava, we should understand that we are committing an offense at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of Vaishnava is very serious. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described this offense as a Hati Mata, the mad elephant offense. A mad elephant can create a disaster, especially when it enters into a nicely trimmed garden. One should therefore be very careful not to commit any offense against a Vaishnava. Every devotee should be ready to take instruction from a superior Vaishnava, and a superior Vaishnava must be ready to help an inferior Vaishnava in all respects. So there is a nice story that comes in Sripad Ramanujacharya's life. When he was in Kanchipur, in Vishnu Kanchi, where there is a beautiful temple of Varadraj, there used to be one devotee. He was not from Brahmin family, Kanchipurna. So he was very attached to the Varadraj, and every day he used to do service of fanning their lordship. And he was so intimate to the Lord that Lord used to talk to him. So Sripad Ramanujacharya, in his Grihastha life, he got very much attached to him. So every day he used to come to Varadraj temple and he used to serve him. He used to go fetch a water from the well and he used to bring it for the Lord's service. That was his service. And he used to sit with Kanchipurna and he used to discuss with him. He used to put a questions. And that same question, Kanchipurna used to ask Varadraj. And Varadraj used to answer him and then he used to give that answer to Ramanujacharya. So it was going on. So one day he requested Kanchipurna, please come and honor Prasadam at my house. So Kanchipurna, first of all, he denied. He said, no, I'm low born and you are from the higher caste. How I can enter in your house and have prasad? And Sripad Ramanuja said, I don't consider all those things. For me, you are a Vaishnava and Vaishnavas are always worshipable. So please do come. And he gave him a particular time that please come and honor prasadam. He asked his wife to cook. And she also very obediently, respecting her husband's desire, she cooked very nicely. And what happened? Kanchipurna, he came in Ramanuja's absence to his house. Then his wife, she said, oh, he has gone out. So when he will come shortly. Then he said, no, I will not wait for him. Please serve me. I will eat and go. So he came, he sat, and she offered him a prasad. He honored that. And he left before Ramanujacharya comes. So his wife, being Orthodox Brahmin, she threw out all the remnants of him. She cleaned all that place with a cow dung where he was sitting and having prasada. Then whatever remaining food was there, she has given out to cow and her maids. And then she took bath, she washed all the vessels and everything. And then again, she cooked everything for Ramanujacharya. And when Ramanujacharya came and he asked his wife, what happened? She said, the Kanchipurna came, he had a prasad, And he left. He said, "What you did then? "Ah, what about his remnant?" And she said, "I have thrown them away." Then Ramanujacharya was shocked. He said, "It is Vaishnava's Maha Prasad. And how you have dishonored that?" And after that, in one incident, she offended the wife of Kanchipurna and she insulted her when she went to get water from outside. Then Ramanujacharya, he understood that these offenses are not good for develop a Krishna consciousness or make a progress in Krishna consciousness. Then he decided that now the time has come to give up this household life. And he asked someone to take this yellow rice and go to my house and tell my wife that her brother is getting married. So her mother has called her to their house. So she was so happy and she took all the jewelry and everything, all nice saris and everything, and she left. As soon as she left, he gave up the household life and took sannyas. If she would not have offended that great devotee, Ramanujacharya would not have taken a sannyas. He would have been household life. But Ramanujacharya, because he was not able to bear that offense to Vaishnava, he gave up that household life. So one should be that much careful about committing offense against the Vaishnava. Rather, they should respect Vaishnava in all situations. One is superior or inferior according to the spiritual development in Krishna consciousness. One is forbidden to observe activities of a pure Vaishnava from a material point of view, because Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyana Bhuja. We can't understand their activities, We have very tiny intelligence. And Prabhupada says, for the neophyte, especially, considering a pure devotee from a material point of view is a very injurious. One should therefore avoid observing a pure devotee externally, but should try to see the internal features and understand how he engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. In this way, one can avoid seeing the pure devotee from the material point of view, and thus one can gradually become purified devotee himself. So, any discussion or any question, any comment regarding this? Hmm?
So probably, so those who are in like Goswami families, so they come under like there is the Vamsha like Nityananda and Advaita Acharya Vamsha.
Yeah, there are some families still that particular dynasty is there in East and West Bengal, and most of the Vaishnavas, they go and take initiation from them directly. Even in Vrindavan also you can find Goswami families, like Radharaman temples priests. All they are called as a Goswami. So they have entitled those Goswami from the hereditary. But Prabhupada clearly says that here, if you have those qualities, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it does not.
So probably, so if we commit like Vaishnava offenses unknowingly, then how to rectify that?
Just go and admit those offenses to that particular Vaishnava for whom you have committed and beg a forgiveness from him. And Vaishnavas, by nature, they are very merciful. They will forgive you. But because of ego, we never do that. The best way, just go and touch their feet and fell at their lotus feet and pray that please forgive me, I have committed this offense against you. And that's why every day morning, what we do, we offer pranam, vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namah. Every day morning we do that. Or whenever we see any respectable Vaishnava, we offer him pranam. Why? Because he is vancha kalpatarubhasya. He is like a desire tree who can give everything. Huh? And kripa sindhubhya vacha, he is the ocean of mercy. He is the one who is there to elevate the fallens. So best way is to beg forgiveness from them and ask them to bless you so that we can make progress. And even if someone is really good Vaishnava, he will not take that offense. Rather, he will take it as a something correction for himself. Oh, I have not understood this particular of my behavior was problematic for someone, so I should behave properly. Sometimes, because of material conditioning, we try to find out faults with the Lord. Then, what to speak of Vaishnava? So, in initial stage, it happens, but it should not. We need to take care of that. Okay.
Thank you.
So further, Prabhupada, he says here that when one criticizes a pure devotee, he commits an offense, Vaishnava Aparad. That is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of Vaishnava. Everyone should therefore be very careful not to be jealous of an empowered Vaishnava or Sadhu Vaishnava. It is also an offense to consider an empowered Vaishnava an object of a disciplinary action. It is offensive to try to give him advice or to correct him. One can distinguish between a neophyte Vaishnava and advanced Vaishnava by their activities. A advanced Vaishnava is always situated as the spiritual master, and the neophyte is always considered his disciple. The spiritual master be obliged to take instruction from those who are not his disciples. This is the sum and substance of Srila Rupa Goswami's advice in this 6th verse.